So, in our last explainer, we laid out four major shifts happening in AI. Today, we're going to dive deep into the two most important ones for right now: the jump from AI tools to AI agents, and this brand new, really tight link between innovation and regulation. Let's get into why this completely changes the game for medtech. Here's the plan. First, we'll look at how these two big shifts are actually connected. Then we're going to break down that move from simple tools to autonomous agents and see how it's shaking up the entire competitive landscape. After that, we'll dig into the new balancing act between innovation and regulation, and then we'll wrap it all up with a clear path forward. At first glance, these two trends might not seem related, but they are. As AI gets more and more autonomous, getting woven deeper into how we work, the regulatory stakes just get higher and higher. They're really two sides of the same coin, and you absolutely have to understand them together. All right, let's tackle that first shift. Right now, most of us see AI as a tool, right? You interact with it. It's a chatbot that answers a question or a Copilot that helps you write an email. And look, those things are useful, but they're really just the early days of where AI is headed. Okay, what's so powerful about this slide is it shows you the before and after picture. We're moving from the stuff on the left to the world on the right, a world of agentic AI. We're talking about systems that don't just sit around and wait for you to ask a question. They're out there monitoring, planning, coordinating, and actually acting on their own right inside the flow of your work. Here's a really simple way to think about it. An AI copilot today, it's like a painkiller. You get a headache, you ask for help, and pop, it solves that one specific immediate problem. It's totally reactive. An agentic system, though, is completely different. It's more like your immune system. It's always on, always monitoring in the background, spotting problems you don't even know you have yet, and then dealing with them proactively without you having to do a thing. So, this is the core of it right here. This is the fundamental change. We're going from AI that reacts to AI that anticipates. We're moving from some isolated tool you have open in another browser tab to a system that's deeply woven into the work itself. And maybe most importantly, we're shifting from AI that just tells you something interesting to AI that actually does something about it. So you might be wondering, how does all this magic actually happen? Well, it's enabled by a technical framework, sometimes called a Model Context Protocol, or MCP. Think of it as the secret language that lets these AI agents talk to your company's data, its internal systems, and even other AI agents, so they can run complex tasks without a human needing to approve every single step. Okay, so we have this huge technological leap, but what does it mean for business? Well, it's creating a totally new competitive landscape where all the old rules are kind of going out the window. This gets right to the heart of a matter. The race to just build the biggest, best AI model, that's quickly becoming a commodity. The real advantage, the real differentiator, is moving up the stack. The new game, the one that's going to define the next decade, is all about implementation. Who can actually make this stuff work securely, reliably, and at scale. And this slide shows that new competitive stack perfectly. You don't get an advantage from just one layer anymore. It all starts with the right cloud infrastructure. Then you need a really deep understanding of real-world workflows. It has to run on your own proprietary data. It's carried out by these smart agents. And then the whole thing is wrapped in a really strong layer of governance to make sure it's safe and sound. To win, you have to master this entire stack. Now, I want to be clear, this isn't happening overnight. Most experts are saying it'll be about 3 to 5 years before we see this kind of thing deployed in a meaningful way across big companies. And you can bet that timeline will be even longer in super regulated spaces like medtech. And the speed of all this won't even depend on the technology as much as it'll depend on us. The leading AI researchers, we're talking everyone from Geoffrey Hinton to Demis Hassabis at DeepMind, they all say the same thing. The biggest hurdles are human hurdles. Building trust, getting safety validated, and just getting organizations ready for this kind of change. Okay, let's make this real. Imagine this. Instead of a person manually writing a quality document, an agentic system goes out, pulls all the relevant standards, reads through the existing docs, finds all the gaps, and even scores the draft. All of that happens before a human being even lays eyes on it. The person's job completely changes. It's no longer about doing the work, it's about reviewing the work and using your judgment. We're already seeing this happen with tools like Microsoft's Copilot Studio and frameworks from places like Anthropic. And this brings us beautifully to our second huge shift, which is a really big deal for life sciences and medtech. It's all about reframing our relationship with regulation. For way too long, we've seen innovation and regulation as these two opposing forces, right? A constant battle between moving fast and staying safe. But the new reality is that they're interlocking gears. One simply can't work without the other. They have to operate in this deliberate, balanced way. This requires a massive shift in mindset. We have to stop building things and then at the very end, tossing it over to the legal team to make it compliant. That's not going to work anymore. The winning companies are embedding regulatory thinking into the design process from the very first day. Compliance isn't a checkbox you tick at the end. It's a core design principle from the beginning. And when you look at the new regulations popping up all over the world, like the EU's AI Act, a few common themes keep showing up. Any successful AI in medtech is going to have to prove its data quality, it's going to have to be transparent and explainable, it will need to actively fight bias, and it has to have a plan for continuous lifecycle monitoring. These are basically the new non-negotiable rules of the game. So, after all that, what does this mean for you, for your organization? Let's bring it all home and figure out the path forward. At the end of the day, we've really covered two fundamental shifts. First, that huge tech shift, from simple reactive AI tools to these proactive, integrated, agentic systems. And second, the big strategic shift, moving away from seeing innovation and regulation as enemies, and instead managing them as a necessary and really powerful partnership. And I'll leave you with this one last question to think about. As these AI agents start taking over more and more of the actual doing, the highest value work for humans is going to be oversight. So take a hard look at your organization. Is it still structured to execute the work, or are you rebuilding it to review the work and to pass judgment on it? I think the answer to that question is going to determine your future. Thanks for tuning in.